G'day photographers, hope you are well. This video is about captioning and I'm going to talk you through a process that ties the correct caption to your photo. So there's no way the information can get lost or misinterpreted or any of those. Well, I mean, there's always a chance, but this really minimizes that risk of your photos appearing in a publication with the wrong caption. Okay, so let's have a look at what I've got in front of you here. So I've got out like a template. I've got some things to remember when you're out gathering captions. I've got my way of captioning like a sports event. And then I'm just going to go through some photos in Photoshop and look at the captions in them. And you might be thinking, why are we in Photoshop when we're talking about writing captions? And we will get to that. This template here is basically what I followed at the last two daily newspapers I worked at. Every publication's going to have a slightly different template or a different way they like their shots captioned. But this way works well, and I've sent photos off to, the Age or the SMH and Sydney Morning Herald, and everyone's sort of been able to work with this, and it's worked out well. So as just a base starting point, I think this is really good. So let's dig in and have a look at what it's made out of. So first up, we're writing the month, the day, the year. Okay, and that's the month, the day, and the year the image was created. The photographer's name, and then a slash, and then the writer's name or the collaborator you're working on this with. If you're not, if these are your images and you don't have a story written with it, or you've written the story and they're your images as well, you can often just leave this area blank. You can leave the dash if you want. Close the brackets, then we put in the location. So the town, the city. Then we get into labeling and identifying the people in the photo. So titles and names, and the assumption more than likely will be that you are ordering these in left to right unless you state it otherwise. So yeah, so you're looking from camera left, camera right, and you're listing everyone in the photo. So we'll have a look at an example of that, but it's kind of like CEO of TAFE, Mark Dixon, discussing with photography teacher, Tracy Matheson. That's a nice template to follow. When you're out shooting, these are the things I want you to keep in your mind and to try and bring back, just to cover all your bases. Now, again, other publications might want other things. Imagine if you're working for a car magazine. They will want to know the make and model of the car that the person is standing next to. So what do you need to sort of cover your bases? You need the first name, the person's last name. And generally, a lot of newspapers seem to have, and a lot of publications too, seem to have this sort of almost unspoken rule that if the person's young, so, under 18 or early 20s, they ask for their age. So it's probably a bit of a traditional thing, and it's also to do with, as they get published in the local newspaper, you can sort of see them growing too. It's sort of just another time capsule kind of thing. You also want to know the town that each person lives in. And depending on the story, you might want their phone number too. So if you've been sent out to photograph something that's happening and there's not a reporter with you or someone to put the words with it, that person's phone number could be quite valuable information for you to take back to the publication. Plus, if you spell something wrong, it's always nice to have a phone number so you can call up and check. When it comes to sport and you're shooting players that are running around the field or a court or it's a little bit harder to get those captions because you can't actually go out on the field and stop play and say, "Excuse me, brother, what's your first and last name?" So this is a little bit of a hack. The gist of it goes like this, and that is when you've got to shoot a game and you've got to come back with the caption, the names of each player. Here's how we do it. So if this is a football game or a netball game or a soccer game or something like that, there's going to be a team sheet somewhere. And that might be in the umpire's room. It might be the record you buy when you walk through the gates. It's going to be somewhere, and someone will know how to get it for you. The record that is printed with all the names in it is pretty good, and you'd either get that checked by the coach or someone close to the coach just to double check they haven't had any last minute number changes. Netball's trickier. You got to check the team sheet like at the end of every quarter because they swap their bibs. Soccer, there's usually a little referee's shed where you go in and you can read the team sheet straight off that. So a little bit of experience, a little bit of asking around, and you'll work it out. When I'm shooting and I capture some action, as I'm looking through the viewfinder, I'll go Albury 21, Wagga 14, Albury 21, Wagga 14, Albury 21, Wagga 14, Albury 21, Wagga 14. And I'll just be whispering that to myself until I get a chance to write it down. Then I'll quickly review the photos and I will find an image from that sequence that I think's the best, and I'll just not jot that in there. And then I've got everything I need from there, especially once I get the team sheet, to make a caption. Okay, and then I can keep on shooting. All right, so how does this look in an image, and how do you actually tie a caption to a photograph forever? How we embed a caption is, and look, there's lots of ways you can do it differently in Lightroom. Capture One's a bit different. Aperture, Rest at Sol is different again. But I'm going to show you the Photoshop way because everyone's got Photoshop. Okay, so what we do, File, File Info, and as you can see, there's a keyboard shortcut there, and depending on your machine, that's a shortcut you're going to get really familiar with really quickly. So it's a second nature thing. So let's open that up, and here in the basic field you'll see a bunch of different things you can populate. So these ones come pre-populated out of my camera because I've added this into the menu system. It's this description field here that is where the caption information can be embedded into, and that's where most organizations will be pulling their caption information from. So here's the best place to put it. So my newspaper used to have a section in it called Fresh Fashion. This was the November shoot, and the models are Jacinta and Belinda Dubosky. Okay, now I haven't done left to right in this. I've done blonde hair and darker hair. Yeah, so that's why there's variation from the left to right there. And you'll find each job's going to have a way to be efficiently and clearly captioned that's going to work really well for you. And for me on this job, I was only ever shooting photos of the two of them. Just, referencing them by hair worked out really well. If you've got a heap of photos to do, copy paste into each one of these photos works really well. So that's the one photo. Let's have a look at this food photo here. Keyboard shortcut of Command Option Shift I, and in here we can see that this photo has been taken on October 22, 2010. I was the photographer, and a good friend Sue Wallace was the writer. We shot this at Albury, and the restaurant was called 579 on Olive, and I get straight into the information there. Alright, so what do we got here? Okay, so we've got another shoot here. Let's bring up this information, file info. This one, you notice, has the age of the model. You can also see that the rating from when you're sorting through your photos comes through in here, and there's lots of really cool stuff you can find if you start clicking through these sorts of areas to Yeah, it's kind of interesting, and you can just caption your photo in here. It's also a way to make sure that information gets through to the publication. You can use that field because they're definitely going to read that and come across what you're trying to say. So if we go into the basic tab here, the organizer of the event were married. I just thought that was important information that the publication needed to know. I also put in this little couple of stars and a 1 and a couple more stars just to try and say that, hey, I'm really proud of this photo and I'd like you guys to use it. And that was kind of border mail speak for, can you really consider using this photo? I mean, sometimes they do, sometimes they don't, but yeah, it's kind of how we would, as a photographer, say this is my preferred image. This last shot here is a sports image. So with a bit of luck, it will tie in with what we've got going on here. So let's jump in, Command, Option, Shift, I. So we got lots of information in here. Okay, so June 15, 2013, I was the photographer, Jake Burke was the writer, it was at Albury, and it was O&M football and on Saturday. Albury versus Lavington. I've included the player numbers in this shot just because that relates directly back to my notes here, and that will relate directly back to the record or the team lists and things like that. It's just another bit of information that the reporter can use, and it's another sort of step in the process for verification. Yeah, I also found like it's important to label the player for each team, because a lot of these shots, they're football, they don't always line up in a left to right kind of thing. They're kind of one in front of the other or one tackling the other, or there's lots of weird stuff going on there. So I always think it's good practice to go Lavingtons, Joe Blogs. You know what I mean? Like you want to just keep that clear and don't be afraid to overstate what's going on in your image, because if you don't overstate it, there's always a chance someone might misinterpret it. All right, photographers, that's captioning 101. This is a really nice format to follow. You won't get a lot of complaints with it. It's key to double check with the publication before you start shooting how they like their captions, but if there's not the opportunity to do that, this is a really solid way to caption your photos, and it's the way I'll be looking to see your images captioned for your assessment. So thank you. Any questions, please call, email, get in touch. I'd love to hear from you.